Hello. While I was recording the last compositional uh, design video, I realized I had created another very bad API design because I was thinking with my UI kit brain, and I fixed the design, and it fixed some things that were really bothering me, and I kind of want to go through that with you. So if you want to continue this journey with me, I welcome. So let's start by looking at the examples from the last video. I replaced the instance of the standard gauge with the built-in clock gauge, as you can kind of see on line 128. The clock gauge has 4 distinct values in it. It has hours, minutes, second, and then a value to calculate the meridian, AM or PM. And it used what we had here in our inside-out gauge of the radial needles view. Now the radial needles view is an Uber view. It is a parent view that, given the array of values in your model, it would instantiate whatever you wanted as your needle. Which in this case is we have 3 different stylings of needles. And there were a couple of things that were bothering me about this. So if we go over to the implementation of that clock view, at his needles view, we have a switch case. And it's like, switch cases, whenever you're kind of doing a switch like this, it's a code smell. Because it's like, especially if you have a default case, I'm like, that seemed less than optimal. And I'm like, okay, well, if I can get rid of the default case by forcing the user to use an enum to name their different cases, but that doesn't get rid of the switch. But I kept this design because I wasn't thinking about it correctly. And then I realized, wait, why do I even have a radial needles view? The real solution, instead of having a parent view that modifies its children view, we then create a view modifier. And view modifiers look a lot like SwiftUI views, but their use case is different enough to point out. Okay, so if we look at the implementation of radial needles view, I have trouble with that word. Glad I'm getting rid of it. What it does is it takes a lambda expression for its content, and it has some values for like the whether we rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. We have our model, which contains our values, and then his implementation is a for each. So for each over the needles of the model, but invoke the view builder that's passed in for our custom needles. So like on that clock there, we have 3 custom needles, and then perform a rotation. It's simple, it works, but it forced the client to get into a switch case with the default implementation of empty view. So if we look at the new implementation of this, and we go to Xcode, it's no longer a view, it's a view modifier, which then takes, as part of its body, it's not a variable returning to some view like views do. This takes in content and returns a view, and basically what it does, exactly what its name says, its purpose is to modify an existing view. And then the pattern is you create an extension on view to kind of give it a nice functional notation. So instead of that switch case, if we look at the current implementation of clock view, we now have, it's much cleaner. We create a needle view, and we just so happen to rotate it. We create another one, we rotate it, and we create another one, and we rotate it. We're no longer doing a loop. This is very static. It's like we have 3 needles, and this is what we do with them. And if we want one of the needles to be stationary, that's all we do. So it simplifies the API, but it also opened the door for named values. It turns out clock wants these names, and it's real easy to say, give me a needle with that name. Now, that name needs to be raw value representable with an int, so it can do array indexing, but that's the only requirement. The difficulty I was having before was I wanted that, but to push that through the parent view required too much API mangling to make that happen, because you don't always want to do that. And then if we look at Power View, which is another built-in view, he only has 2, power and control, and he does the same thing, just creates the 2 needles. This used to be this used to be in a switch case with a default case. So it's functionally identical, probably a little bit more efficient, but cleaner and more versatile. It's just another case where I was in the mindset of create an Uber view to manage subviews. And that's not how you do things in SwiftUI. So thank you again for going on this journey with me, and I'll see you next time.